Greg Gutfeld was named one of the 12 most influential people in America by the news website Mediaite. He is one of the more popular and controversial faces in the media landscape. Comedy also helped him charm a beautiful woman. Keep watching and try not to gasp when you see Greg Gutfeld's wife. Early life and career. Greg was born in San Mateo, California on September 12, 1964. He grew up in a Catholic school in San Francisco as an altar boy, but it wasn't the life he wanted for himself. He said in his book that he learned from an early age the benefits of playing a part. In his own words, quote, "Like a rat getting its edible pellet, I discovered that fake caring could reap rewards." Perhaps that's what got him interested in being behind a camera. Eventually, he stopped having to pretend. His entire ideology and views on the world began to change when he went to the University of California at Berkeley. He said he became a conservative by being around liberals in his early life. He then became a libertarian by being around conservatives in college. He believes the parties have a lot in common, but that, quote, "the worst part of each of them is the moralizing." After graduating with an English degree in 1987, he started getting all the journalistic writing jobs he could find. He was an intern at the American Spectator, then a staff writer for Prevention magazine, and an editor for magazines under Rodale Press. He was a staff writer at Men's Health in 1995 and promoted to editor-in-chief in 1999. He left that job to become editor-in-chief of Stuff, increasing its circulation from 750,000 to 1.2 million. He was fired from there and went on to be director of brand development at Dennis Publishment. He edited Maxim magazine in the UK from 2004 to 2006, but lost his contract when it lost readership. He was also one of the first posting contributors to the Huffington Post. Greg's early years at Fox. Greg began his time at Fox as a host on Fox News on February 5, 2007. He led a show called Red Eye that aired on Saturday mornings from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Monday through Saturday and 11 p.m. on Saturday night. The show switched to 3 a.m. on Monday through Saturday starting in October of 2007. Greg hated reading from a teleprompter but says he, quote, ended up embracing the incompetence. Bill Schultz was his co-chair from 2007 to 2013. Greg then became a co-host and panelist on the Fox show The Five, starting in 2011. He developed a reputation for having a hot temper. One former staff member who wished to remain anonymous said he would explode on and off camera at minor issues. They also said it was his humor that kept him on the network for as long as he was. He'd come back after a fight and crack a joke that almost made you forget. He's always been as much a comedian as a newscaster. Getting his own shows. Greg was one of Fox's biggest draws for a while. It was enough for him to join the ranks of media personalities who got their own shows. The Greg Gutfeld Show began airing in 2015. Another show, Gutfeld, began March 10, 2021. The shows debuted to poor reviews and ridicule on social media, but then started soaring in popularity. Gutfeld generated higher ratings than Jimmy Kimmel Live and The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. It even topped The Late Show with Stephen Colbert and was the highest-rated late-night talk show. He didn't stay away from the controversial statements he generated during his previous time on the air. He still tried to work comments on President Biden's son Hunter into almost every segment. Greg has said he doesn't want to be like other Fox anchors. He said, quote, "When I join things, it's not to become whatever they are. It's so that maybe they become a little bit more like me." Greg's involvement in global conflicts. There was one time when a statement of Greg's forced him to apologize to Canada. It was during a segment on Red Eye, March 17, 2009. He and his panel discussed Canadian Lieutenant General Andrew Leslie. He'd recently said that the Canadian Armed Forces may need a 1-year synchronized break after their mission in Afghanistan. Greg joked about what they'd do with that time. Comedian Doug Benson was on the panel, and he said he thought Canada was, quote, "where you go if you don't want to fight." Greg added that it would be the perfect time to invade the ridiculous country because their army was unprepared. The segment was posted to YouTube 3 days after the deaths of 4 Canadian soldiers in Afghanistan. Their army had been fighting in the Kandahar province for years. It was one of the birthplaces of the Taliban and had one of the highest casualty rates in Afghanistan. Greg's comments sparked major outrage. Canada's defense minister, Peter MacKay, called them despicable, hurtful, and ignorant. He asked Fox to issue an apology. Gregg did deliver one. He said he didn't intend to make light of the troops' efforts in Afghanistan, but realized how his comments could have been considered hurtful. He didn't want to disrespect the brave men and women and families of the Canadian military and apologized. He also got involved in global conflict when Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022. It didn't involve an apology, but he did get rebuked by his fellow newsmen. Gregg wasn't impressed by the way footage of the Russian conflict was shown to the public. He said the media was using it to emotionally manipulate viewers because it makes news companies a profit. Fox News foreign affairs correspondent Benjamin Hall was present in Kyiv at the time. He had a first-hand view of the conflict and said what the news was showing was the truth. He was seriously injured a few days later. Another Fox employee, Pierre Zakrzewski, and a Ukrainian journalist were also tragically killed in a surprise attack. Gregg's interests and views. Gregg considers himself a libertarian. He says he voted by mail in the 2016 presidential election, but the Washington Post couldn't find any record of his ballot. He believes he may have sent it in past the deadline. He considers himself an agnostic atheist. He's given up his religious upbringing. He has interests outside of the news. He's an avid fan of rock and heavy metal, and he's spoken about it on the air. One of his favorite bands is Power Trip. He paid tribute to its singer Riley Gale on air after he died in 2020. He's also had members of the band Gwar on his show several times. Who is Elena Moussa? Elena Moussa was born in Russia on May 4, 1982. She spent most of her childhood in London and grew up in a middle-class family and was interested in fashion early on. She attended high school in the U.S. and graduated in 2000. She earned degrees from the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York and the Parsons School of Design. She got a job at Maxim Russia, a multinational brand. She climbed the ladder and created her own brand, Moussa Project, in 2011. Gregg and Elena met in 2004. He was editor-in-chief for Maxim UK at the time, while she was working for Maxim Russia. They met at a conference for the brand's two branches. Gregg said he was immediately smitten. He said he, quote, foolishly hit on her for 3 days before she agreed to go out with him. They dated for 5 months before getting married in 2004. It was a private wedding with no public photos. The couple lived in London for a while, but now live in New York City together as of 2018. They've been married for over 19 years and have no children. They have a comfortable mid-century modern lake house. He's expressed a desire to get out of New York due to a perceived rise in crime and other issues in the city. The problem is he has to convince his wife to leave with him. He also has to convince the network that made him famous. There's one thing that will stay true, though. No matter where Gregg Gutfeld goes, he'll always say exactly what he thinks to anyone who will listen. And he'll try to do it with a little bit of comedy thrown in. Now it's time to hear from you. Who's your favorite news or talk show figure? Let us know in the comments section below.